Hello, welcome back to Introduction to Nature Journaling. It's been a few months since I filmed the first in this series, and as you can see, spring has come to Beechmont. It's a really lovely time of year. So thanks for watching. Today we're going to be focusing on some nature journaling prompts. And these are sort of questions and leading sentences to get you really ramping up your observation skills, get you asking questions about what you're nature journaling, get you reflecting on your memories and maybe thinking more laterally about the things you're journaling, and also tapping into your feelings. The first three prompts are I notice, I wonder, and it reminds me of. And these I think were developed by John Muir Laws, who's a leading nature journaling teacher from California. So thank you, John, for those, or Jack as he's also known. I also add another prompt on the end, which is it makes me feel, because I like tapping into the emotional side of nature journaling as well. So those prompts again are I notice, I wonder, it reminds me of, and it makes me feel. So what we're going to be focusing on today is this lovely macadamia tree I have in my backyard, and it's got lots of things that we can wonder about and notice and all those sort of things. So I'll lead you through it, but these prompts are really useful. They can be applied to anything you nature journal. So let's get started. So first of all, I need to introduce you to this macadamia tree I have in my backyard. This is it here. It's surrounded by other trees, but so you may not be able to see the extent of it to start off with, but it is quite a large tree these days. Not very tall. I noticed, let's go through these prompts now. I noticed that it's about, let's say 8 to 10 metres tall, but it's wider. It's almost, I think it's wider than it is tall. So the first thing you might notice about what your nature journaling is its size. You know, what do you notice? Is it big, small? What's its shape? But have a look at what's happening in close-up. What do we notice here? So look at this, we're getting lots of new leaves and we're getting so many flowers on this plant. So these long things coming down are the flowers of the macadamia. There's multiple flowers on each inflorescence, as it's called. That's what you call a bunch of flowers together. I notice these leaves are shiny. The new leaves are light green. All of the leaves have got sort of these wiggly margins. So these are all the I notices, and I can go on, and I'm sure if you've got something in front of you that you're nature journaling, there's lots of I notices. You can talk about colour, you can talk about shape, you can talk about size. The other thing you can talk about, of course, is how they feel to your hand. So this feels sort of smooth, there's no hairs here, feels a little bit leathery and thick, and if I touch one of the older leaves, that is definitely leathery and thick, as a lot of our leaves of Australian native plants tend to be. So let's move on to the next prompt, which is I wonder. So I wonder how old this tree is. I wonder why it's got those multiple stems at the base. If I didn't know what it was, I'd say I wonder what its name is. And of course, names can be all sorts of names. So this plant is the macadamia. It's the one that produces the nuts that you might be familiar with, that people cover in chocolate or just eat as is, and they're highly delicious. The scientific name for this plant is Macadamia integrifolia, and I'm embarrassed to say I don't know the traditional indigenous names, but I should look them up. I know these plants are known as bopple nuts, and I'm pretty sure that was a indigenous Australian name for these trees. The other really interesting thing about Australian native plants, particularly ones that are highly edible, is that they may have been distributed here. They're probably most likely been distributed by Aboriginal people over thousands of years. So I can imagine in this landscape Indigenous folks wandering through and spreading the seeds of this tree, and knowing that then when they came back in years to come, there would be trees to collect nuts from. So these are all things we can wonder, how did this tree get here? All that sort of thing. Lots of other things to wonder. Why are the leaves that shape and size? Why are the flowers like that? What's pollinating this plant? What eats the seeds and nuts apart from us? if I look up there, you probably can't see it, but there's actually an eastern spinebill up in the tree feeding on the flowers. So one of the things we're wondering about, perhaps what feeds on the flowers, has been solved. But I'm sure there's lots of other birds. In fact, I have seen other birds feeding on these flowers. So that's I wonder, and feel free to wonder many types of things as you're doing the I wonder prompt to whatever you're nature journaling. Now, in terms of the next prompt, it reminds me of, I'm going to focus in on these flowers, because all of these prompts you can use for the whole plant, or you might just want to focus in on the leaf or the flower or part of it. So with it reminds me of these flowers. They're reminding me of Christmas decorations, because there's so many sprinkled all over this plant, or chandeliers, or sort of long strings of bananas. Another thing you can tap into when you're thinking about it reminds me of is a memory of a similar plant or maybe a similar flower somewhere else. So often when I'm teaching nature journaling and we're talking about trees, people might say to me, oh, this tree reminds me of a tree that used to grow in my mum's house or in my schoolyard, and there might be sort of memories associated with that. So don't think in your nature journal you have to restrict yourself to the here and now. So now we'll move on to the last nature journaling prompt, it makes me feel. And this is always a really interesting one, because in my nature journaling workshops I always notice when we reach that one, it's like everyone changes into a different gear. And I think that's a good thing. So when I'm looking at this amazing macadamia tree, it makes me feel happy. It makes me feel sort of that I've got this sort of bounteous life form in my garden that's providing our backyard and the landscape with all these flowers, all this nectar, and after the flowers, of course, all these wonderful, yummy macadamia nuts that are eaten by all sorts of critters, including us. So, yeah, bounteousness, generosity, I suppose. Does it make me feel those? I don't know if I'm feeling those, but it makes me sense them. I feel like this tree is contributing these things to the landscape. And the other thing it does, it provides a lovely shade, which can be rare in the Australian landscape. And it makes me feel full of wonder that it's still here. It's quite old, and I'd really like to know what its history was. So there you go. That's my backyard macadamia tree. And those 4 prompts, I notice, I wonder, it reminds me of, and it makes me feel. Incorporate them into your nature journaling and you'll never be stuck for an idea to put on your page. And you'll find that even the most simple object will come alive, because there's a wealth of things that you can observe about it, think about it, ask questions about it, and also tap into your memories and your emotions. It's all there, it's just waiting for you. So enjoy that, and happy nature journaling. See you later.